Hello, my name is Ryan Steele, and today I'd like to talk to you about the contributions and the influences that Harriet Beecher Stowe had on not only life in America in the early 1800s, but how some of those have carried over in today's society. Harriet Beecher Stowe is most known for her book entitled Uncle Tom's Cabin. In the book, she depicts the life of a slave, how much they're mistreated, and the atrocities they face. Specifically, the female slaves, how they oftentimes were raped, and how in many cases, when they bore children, those children were then given to other slaveholders of other plantations. But in order to understand why Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote this book, you have to go back to Cincinnati. It's there in Cincinnati where she witnessed the riots between the Irish and the blacks. The riots were based on working privileges and the competitive market. As a result, these riots broke out, and Miss Stowe saw firsthand the mistreatment of the so-called freed black slaves in the northern land. This, coupled with her visit to Kentucky, where she witnessed firsthand the slaves' auction, she began to realize how slaves were just property and how their feelings and mistreatment were commonplace across the South, not only in the South, but anywhere that had to do with the slaves. As a result, her and her husband, according to Klein, become activists in the Underground Railroad. They open their house to slaves seeking freedom in Canada, and they did that until they moved from Cincinnati back to the East Coast where she was originally from, or the parts thereof. It's there where she had admirations of writing and helping and advocating for slaves. She began writing for a local newspaper. Those articles ended up becoming her book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was published in 1852. The reason why these articles in this book were so influential was because the North didn't understand the atrocities, the treatment, or the mistreatment of slaves back in the 1800s. And this helped them to understand how they were treated. Also, Harriet was able to write in a way that made everything relatable to even the Northerners. They saw the big picture. They saw she was able to influence them, let them know if you buy certain things that are manufactured in the South, then you're only going to encourage slavery. So this was a big eye-opener for many of the Northerners. She was able to create so much awareness that the North obviously split apart from the South and thus created the Civil War. According to Engel, when Harriet's family met President Lincoln, Lincoln was said to have called her the instigator of the Civil War based upon her writings. She not only advocated for slavery, or against slavery, she advocated for equal rights of women, specifically in a marriage. Back then, women did not have rights to property as men did. And now, obviously, currently in today's society, that is no longer the case, where men and women are both equally allowed to own property. And she advocated for that back in the mid-1800s. And so in closing, you can see Harriet Beecher Stowe had great influence over America, not only in the 1800s with freeing slavery through the Civil War, but also the awareness today about how important it is to have a free working environment where it's not based upon your race, color, or creed. Thank you for your time.